Welcome to Starbound. My name's Chikondi, and I'll be your narrator today. Nearly 500 supporters get early access to our stories, including brand new episodes of Sunspire Academy and Farron and Rimiki. If you'd like to unlock early access and support new episodes and future series, tap Join below to become a Starbound member. Now let's get into today's story. It was both the galaxy's oldest scam and the favorite game of the Zagarian elite. They would contact emergent species through primitive forms of FTL communication, claiming that the Zorg Empire had taken an interest in their planet. Then, under the guise of offering protection from this fabricated threat, the Zagarians would pressure the newcomers into selling their unique fauna, culture, and even their languages. The Zagarian scam faced the threat when new species discovered the Galactic Council offered free invasion protection. However, the Zagarians, master manipulators, had a loophole. They never offered protection against invasion. Instead, they framed their service as preventative cultural integration to harmonize species with galactic norms, making them less appealing targets. They argued that while the Council provided military defense, their cultural safeguarding was a premium service, justifying the exchange of unique fauna, culture, and language as a fair transaction for this specialized, preemptive security. This linguistic sidestep allowed them to continue their game, even under the Council's watchful eye. Mizir, a Zagarian elder with scales red like blood, watched the shimmering progress bar on the table's floating globe. It glowed with the promise of a new connection, a fresh canvas for their ancient scamming art. The planet, Earth they called it apparently, home to curious bipedal creatures known as humans, was a particularly intriguing prospect. Their initial connection indicated a species brimming with creativity, a vast array of unique cultures, and a fervent belief in their own individuality, all ripe for the Zagarian touch. A faint, almost imperceptible smile played on Mizir's lips. The game was about to begin anew, and this time, the stakes felt delightfully higher. Mizir wasn't alone at the ornate crystal table. To his left sat Sozara, whose scales were blue like those born in the cold northern continent. To his right, Lemir's golden scales gleamed in the color typical of those born in the hot climates of the south.
"The preliminary scans are fascinating,"
Sozara said, her forked tongue flicking out to taste the air, a habit she'd never quite shaken despite the climate-controlled perfection of their chamber.
"These humans appear to have remarkably soft skin, no scales whatsoever, and the color variations not so different from us."
She tilted her head, the gesture causing her neck frills to flutter slightly.
"Still, they're mammalians, not reptile descendants. How peculiar."
Lemire let out a low hiss, the Zagarian equivalent of a chuckle.
"Mammalians are always the strangest ones,"
he said, shifting his weight in the chair.
"Did you know they produce food with their own bodies? The females secrete a nutrient-rich fluid to feed their young. Absolutely bizarre."
His golden eyes narrowed as he processed the incoming data.
"The AI is extracting quite a bit from the initial link. Most of it was sent voluntarily by the humans themselves. They seem almost eager to share. They've practically gift-wrapped their culture for us."
"Silence," Mizir commanded, raising one clawed hand. The authority in his voice was absolute, honed by centuries of leadership.
"The mutual translation protocols are nearly complete. Given their enthusiasm for communication, I suspect they'll request visual contact immediately."
He leaned forward, his blood-red scales pressing together tightly.
"We must be prepared. This species shows signs of both naivety and intelligence, a dangerous combination if mishandled."
The three elders exchanged knowing glances, each understanding their role in the performance about to unfold. They'd done this countless times before, refining their approach with each new species, each new mark. But there was something about these humans, something in the way they'd responded to first contact, that made Mizir's scales tingle with anticipation.
Let's review our approach, Mizir said. We use the fear of the Zorg Empire against them, as always.
The beauty of using the Zorg is that they're real,
Sazara said.
They exist in the outer galaxy, beyond the Council's reach. We have authentic footage, real conquest documentation, genuine testimonials from refugees. The fact that the Zorg haven't expanded beyond their current territory in 3,000 years is a detail we can omit,
Lemire added with another hissing chuckle. Mizir nodded approvingly.
The humans' preliminary data suggests they are paranoid people. They will believe it.
Should we adjust our initial approach?
Sazara asked, her tail swishing thoughtfully.
Their fiction suggests they might be more skeptical than the average emergent species.
No,
Mizir decided after a moment's consideration.
We stick to the proven formula.
Lemire pulled up their standard presentation materials, the horrifying footage of Zorg conquests that had worked on dozens of species before. Worlds burning, populations fleeing, the distinctive biomechanical ships of the Zorg fleet descending like metallic locusts.
I've updated the presentation with some newer footage from the Kelari conquest. The resolution is better, more impactful.
Excellent,
Mizir said. A soft chime indicated the translation protocols were complete.
Places, everyone. Remember, we are a benevolent elder species, concerned only with the welfare of our new galactic neighbors.
The three Zagarians arranged themselves in a practiced formation, Mizir in the center, with Sazara and Lemire flanking him. They'd found this arrangement most effective. It suggested authority without appearing militaristic, wisdom without condescension. The screen before them activated, and Mizir felt that familiar thrill of first visual contact. The human that appeared was young by any species standard, with skin the color of burnished copper, and hair as dark as space itself, arranged in an intricate style. She wore clothing that seemed formal by human standards, a crisp white garment on her upper body and a dark covering on the lower.
"Greetings,"
the human said, and Mizir was impressed by the clarity of the translation. Her face bore an expression that the AI identified as a smile, a baring of teeth that, in humans, apparently indicated friendship rather than aggression.
"I am Samantha Farias, selected representative of the United Earth Conglomerate. This is such an incredible moment for humanity. First contact with a friendly alien civilization. I can hardly believe it's really happening."
The enthusiasm in her voice was clear, and the three Zagarians exchanged subtle glances of satisfaction. This was exactly the kind of response they'd hoped for, excitement clouding judgment, emotion overriding caution.
Greetings, Samantha Farias of Earth,
Mizir responded, allowing warmth to infuse his tone.
I am Elder Mizir of the Zagarian Collective, and these are my colleagues, Elder Sazara and Elder Lemire. We are equally delighted to make contact with your species. The emergence of a new sapient civilization is always a cause for celebration in the galactic community.
Samantha's eyes widened, revealing more of those blunt mammalian teeth.
"Thank you. We have so many questions. How many civilizations are out there? How does your translation tech work? What's the friendly side of the galaxy really like?"
Sazara leaned forward, missing the implication in the words of the human woman.
All excellent questions, young one. The galaxy is home to thousands of sapient species, each unique and valuable. As for the tech subject,
She paused delicately.
I hope I'm not being presumptuous, but I assume your species has not yet achieved that particular breakthrough? FTL communication is, after all, considerably simpler than actual travel.
Mizir noticed the slight change in Samantha's expression, a tightening around the eyes that the AI flagged as potential concern or caution. Interesting.
I apologize,
Samantha said after a brief pause.
but I'm not authorized to share specific information about our technological capabilities at this time. I hope you understand. This is all very new to us.
The three Zagarians muted their audio feed, a practiced motion that took less than a second.
She's being cagey about their FTL capabilities,
Lemire observed.
Classic posturing. They want to appear stronger than they are.
Of course,
Cesara agreed.
they probably haven't even achieved fusion propulsion yet.
Perfect,
Mizir said.
They're trying to project strength from a position of weakness. That makes them ideal marks. Resume contact.
They unmuted, and Mizir continued smoothly, as if there had been no pause.
Of course, we completely understand, Samantha. Caution is wise when entering the galactic stage. In fact, your prudence speaks well of your species. Too many young civilizations rush eagerly into the void without understanding the complexities they might encounter.
He let that last word hang in the air, watching as Samantha leaned forward slightly, her interest clearly piqued.
Complexities?
She echoed.
What kind of complexities?
Oh, nothing to be overly concerned about.
Lemire interjected, his tone carefully calibrated to suggest there was, in fact, something to be concerned about.
The galaxy is generally a peaceful place, but there are areas beyond jurisdiction, species that don't subscribe to the common accords of civilization.
Like who?
Samantha asked, and Mizir could practically taste her curiosity mixed with apprehension. The three Zagarians exchanged another round of meaningful glances that turned into smiles. This was the moment, the pivot point where curiosity transformed into fear, where fear became need, where need became transaction.
Well,
Mizir began, his voice taking on a grave tone.
I suppose you should know, for your own protection. Have you ever heard of the Zorg Empire?
Samantha shook her head, leaning even closer to whatever visual capture device the humans were using.
Zorg?
Perhaps it would be better to show you,
Cesara suggested, her claws already moving to cue up the presentation.
though I must warn you, some of this footage is disturbing.
Go ahead.
Samantha said firmly. Mizir nodded solemnly.
Very well. But please understand, we share this not to frighten you, but to prepare you. The Zorg Empire exists in the outer galaxy, close to your world, in fact. They are expansionist in nature.
The screen split, maintaining the communication feed while displaying the carefully curated footage. The first images showed Zorg bioships, massive amalgamations of technology and organic matter that moved like malevolent life. The vessels moved through space like predators, surrounding a peaceful world, the Kelari homeworld, though the humans wouldn't know that.
This is footage from the Kelari system,
Lemire narrated, his voice apparently somber.
The Kelari were a peaceful species, much like yourselves. Artists, philosophers, musicians. They had no military to speak of.
The footage showed the bioships descending, their organic hulls splitting open to release clouds of smaller craft. The invasion was swift, brutal. Cities burned with green fire that seemed to consume matter at the molecular level. The Kelari, delicate beings with transparent exoskeletons, fled in terror, only to be caught by Zorg harvesting beams.
The Zorg don't simply conquer.
Cesara explained, her voice heavy with fake sorrow.
They absorb. They take what they find useful. Technology, culture, biological resources, and destroy the rest. The Kelari homeworld, gone in a matter of days.
Mizir watched Samantha's face carefully, expecting to see the familiar progression of emotions. Shock, horror, Fear, desperation. Every species reacted the same way to their first glimpse of the Zorg. It was foolproof. Except, Samantha wasn't reacting as expected. Her expression was serious, yes, but there was something else there. She was studying the footage with an analytical eye, her head tilted slightly as if trying to remember something. The fear Mizir expected to see was conspicuously absent. Samantha said after the footage concluded.
That's interesting. These Zorg, you said they're close to us? What coordinates exactly?
The question caught the Zigarians off guard. Most species were too paralyzed by fear at this point to ask for specifics.
You just need to know they are close to you,
Lemire replied automatically, then quickly added,
and their expansion patterns are unpredictable. They could move toward the human planet at any time.
I see,
Samantha said, making what appeared to be notes on a device outside the visual pickup range.
And you're offering us this information. Why exactly?
Mizir rallied, returning to the familiar script.
The Zigarian Collective has developed certain defensive protocols. We can help modify your species' cultural signatures, making you less appealing as targets. The Zorg are attracted to unique cultural and biological resources. If you allow us, we will spare no efforts to help you integrate certain galactic standard practices, adopt some common cultural elements. You become, let's say, less interesting to them.
For a price, I assume?
Samantha's tone was neutral, giving nothing away.
A modest exchange,
Sazara said smoothly.
Some genetic samples of your fauna for our preservation archives, copies of your cultural works for integration analysis, linguistic patterns for standardization. Nothing you would miss, but enough to help us help you.
Samantha nodded slowly.
I need to consult with my superiors about this. The footage is something.
The three Zagarians muted again.
She's not reacting properly,
Lemire hissed.
Where's the panic? The desperation? She should be begging us for protection by now. Different species react differently,
Sazara rationalized, though she too looked troubled.
Perhaps humans process fear differently. Their brain chemistry is mammalian after all.
Or maybe, Mizir said slowly, they are more sophisticated than we assumed. She might be maintaining composure while panicking internally. Notice how she immediately asked to consult with superiors. She is likely rushing to share this terrifying news.
Of course.
Lemire agreed, relaxing slightly.
She'll need time to show the footage to their leaders for the full implications to sink in. They'll probably spend days in emergency sessions debating how to respond.
They unmuted as Samantha finished making her notes.
We completely understand,
Mizir said graciously.
This is a lot to process. Please, take all the time you need to consult with your leaders. We'll maintain this communication channel. Reach out when you are ready to discuss our benevolent offer.
Actually,
Samantha said,
if you could just wait a moment, I'll be right back.
Before any of the Zagarians could respond, the human's feed went to a holding pattern. The three elders stared at the screen in bewilderment.
A moment?
Sazara said incredulously.
She's going to discuss the potential extinction of her species, and she needs a moment?
Maybe moment translates differently,
Lemire suggested weakly.
Maybe in human timescales it means several days?
Mizir said nothing, but his scales had darkened to a deeper crimson, a sign of perturbation that his colleagues recognized well. Something was off about this entire interaction. The human had been too calm, too analytical, The feed reactivated. Only 4 minutes had passed according to the chronometer. Samantha had returned, and now she wasn't alone. Behind her stood several other humans in what appeared to be military uniforms, their expressions unreadable.
Thank you for waiting,
Samantha said, and there was something different to her tone now, a hardness that hadn't been there before.
I've consulted with my superiors, and we've reviewed your footage of the Zorg Empire.
Excellent.
Mizir began, preparing to launch into the next phase of their pitch.
Then you understand the severity.
We don't need your protection,
Samantha interrupted, her words icy cold.
Humanity has already encountered the Zorg Empire. They've been extinct for approximately 3 years now.
The chamber fell silent, not the practiced silence of a muted feed, but the absolute, crystalline silence of complete shock. Mizir felt his secondary eyelids flicker involuntarily, a stress response he hadn't experienced in centuries. Beside him, Sozara's blue scales had paled to an almost white sheen, while Lemir's golden coloration had taken on a sickly greenish tinge.
That's...
Mizir's voice failed him. He tried again.
That's impossible.
Is it?
Samantha asked, and there was definitely steel in her voice now.
Tell me, Elder Mizir, when was that footage actually taken? Because our FTL missiles didn't fail, and we are absolutely certain of that.
The 3 Zagarians didn't need to mute their feed this time. They were too stunned to speak. FTL missiles? The Zorg Empire? Extinct? It was impossible. Unthinkable. The Zorg had terrorized the outer galaxy for millennia. They were the perfect boogeyman, the ideal threat, precisely because they were real and remote and seemingly eternal.
You are lying,
Lemire blurted out, his usual eloquence deserting him.
The Zorg Empire spans dozens of systems. They have billions of warriors, thousands of bioships. No emergent species could possibly...
Couldn't we? One of the military figures behind Samantha spoke for the first time. You assume because we're new to FTL communication, we're helpless? Interesting assumption. Mizir's mind raced. This had to be a bluff, a desperate gambit by a species trying to appear stronger than they were. He'd seen it before. Not often, but occasionally a species would try to counter-bluff, claiming friendship with powerful allies or possession of superweapons. It never worked because the Zagarians always had evidence, always had proof of the threats they presented. But the humans, they weren't acting like they were bluffing. There was no nervousness, no telltale signs of deception that transcended species barriers. They seemed genuinely, almost casually confident.
This is...
Sozara started, stopped, started again.
You must understand. The Zorg Empire has existed for thousands of years. They've conquered hundreds of species. The idea that a single planet could defeat them is...
Ludicrous,
Samantha supplied.
Impossible, against all known precedent.
She leaned back in her chair.
They were not that tough. Did you ever actually try to stop them yourselves?
The question hung in the air like an accusation, which Mizir realized with growing horror. It was.
We...
Mizir began, then stopped. What could he say? That they'd never actually intended to stop the Zorg because they were too useful as a threat? That the Zagarian collective had built their entire economic model on the fear of an empire they had no intention of confronting?
That's what we thought, Samantha said into the silence. You know what? This conversation has been very illuminating. Thank you for reaching out to us, elders.
The 3 Zagarians sat in stunned silence as Samantha's words echoed in the chamber. Mizir's mind raced, trying to process what he'd just heard. FTL missiles. A single planet destroying the Zorg Empire? It was preposterous, absurd, completely impossible. And yet...
They're lying,
Lemire said, suddenly muting the communication.
They have to be lying. Think about it. A species that's just achieved FTL communication, claiming to have destroyed an empire that's terrorized the galaxy for millennia. It's the most transparent bluff I've ever heard.
Sozara's neck frills, which had been flat against her scales in shock, began to rise slightly.
Lemir's right. This is just... It's a counter bluff. We've seen it before. Remember the Kethari?
The Cathari were terrible liars.
Mizir pointed out, though he found himself wanting to believe his colleagues.
These humans.
Are better at it.
Lemire finished. On screen, Samantha was still watching them with those strange mammalian eyes. There was something in her expression that made Mizir's scales itch, a confidence that seemed too genuine to be performed.
Elders,
Samantha's voice broke through their hushed conference.
is everything all right? You seem disturbed by our news.
The three Zagarians exchanged glances. They should end this now, Mizir knew. Cut the communication. Mark Earth as a loss. Move on to the next target. It was the smart play, the safe play. But
Ensure it's muted.
Mizir commanded, and the feed went silent on their end.
We should disconnect.
Cesara said immediately.
If they're telling the truth.
They are not,
Lemire insisted.
it's impossible. But I admit, I'm curious about their reasoning. Why claim something so outlandish? What's their angle?
Mizir found himself nodding slowly.
As am I. In 5 centuries of running this operation, I've never encountered a bluff quite like this.
He paused, considering.
And if they are lying, which they must be, then what harm is there in revealing our hand? We can afford to lose one planet's resources, especially one as remote as Earth.
You want to tell them about the scam?
Cesara's scales shifted to a deeper blue, indicating surprise.
Why not?
Mizir leaned back in his chair, a strange excitement building in his chest.
If they're clever enough to attempt such an audacious lie, perhaps they're clever enough to appreciate the artistry of what we do. And I want to know, I need to know, why they think this particular fiction would work against us.
Lemire's golden scales gleamed as he tilted his head.
It would be interesting to see how they react when confronted with the truth. Do they double down on their lie? Do they panic? Do they beg?
Exactly,
Mizir said.
We've been running this game for so long, we rarely get to see what happens when the veil is lifted. Consider it elderly curiosity.
Cesara looked between her two colleagues, then sighed, a long hissing sound.
Fine. But if this backfires...
Then we've lost one remote planet that doesn't even have confirmed FTL travel,
Mizir finished.
An acceptable loss for what could be a fascinating insight into emergent species psychology.
He reached for the unmute control, then paused.
Are we agreed? Full disclosure?
2 nods answered him. Mizir unmuted the feed.
Samantha Farias of Earth,
he began, his tone different now, less performative, more genuine.
We've been discussing your interesting claim about the Zorg Empire.
Oh?
Samantha leaned forward slightly.
And what conclusions have you reached?
That you are lying,
Lemire said bluntly, earning a sharp look from Cesara.
But we are curious about why.
Samantha's expression didn't change. If anything, she looked amused.
Are we now?
Indeed,
Mizir said, settling back in his chair.
So curious, in fact, that we're willing to do something we've never done before. We're going to tell you the truth.
Now Samantha's eyebrows rose, a gesture the AI identified as surprise.
The truth?
The complete truth,
Mizir confirmed.
You see, Samantha Farias, You've just participated in what we call the Great Game. For thousands of years, the Zigarian Collective has been contacting emergent species and warning them about the Zorg Empire. We offer protection, or rather, cultural integration services, in exchange for resources, genetic samples, and cultural artifacts.
He paused, watching her face carefully.
It's a scam. An ancient, elaborate, highly profitable scam.
Samantha's expression had gone very still. Behind her, the military figures were leaning in, whispering among themselves.
The beauty of it
Sazara added, apparently warming to the revelation.
is that the Zog Empire is real. They do exist out in the outer galaxy. They are dangerous. They have conquered worlds. But, and this is the crucial part, they haven't expanded their territory in 3 millennia. They're contained, static, no threat to anyone in Council space. But emergent species don't know that.
Lemire continued, his voice carrying a note of pride.
They see the footage, real footage, and they panic. They beg for our help. And we, benevolent elders that we are, graciously provide it.
For a price, Samantha said, her voice carefully neutral.
For a modest price,
Mizir corrected.
Some genetic samples, some cultural artifacts, some linguistic data. Nothing some primitives would miss, but valuable to collectors, researchers, museums throughout the galaxy. We're not pirates, Samantha. We're, let's say, entrepreneurial anthropologists.
Thieves, one of the military figures behind Samantha said flatly.
Such a harsh word.
Lemire protested.
We provide a service. Peace of mind has value, does it not? The species we contact sleep better, knowing they're protected from the Zorg, even if that protection is ultimately unnecessary.
Mizir leaned forward, his red scales catching the light.
But you, Samantha Farias, you've presented us with a puzzle. Your claim that humanity destroyed the Zorg Empire. It's the most audacious counter bluff we've ever encountered. And we want to know why. Why that particular lie? What made you think we'd believe something so impossible?
For a long moment, Samantha said nothing. Then, to the complete bewilderment of the 3 Zagarians, she started to laugh. Not the polite chuckle of diplomatic amusement, but a full-bodied laugh that shook her shoulders and brought moisture to her eyes. "Oh," she gasped between laughs. "Oh, this is perfect! This is absolutely perfect!" The Zagarians exchanged confused glances. This was not any reaction they'd anticipated.
I don't understand,
Mizar said slowly.
What's funny about this situation?
Samantha wiped her eyes, still grinning. "You think we're lying. You revealed your entire scam because you think we're lying about the Zorg."
Of course you are lying,
Lemire snapped, his patience wearing thin.
No single planet could destroy the Zorg Empire. It's impossible.
"It is not," Samantha said, her grin widening. "The word impossible. You keep using that stupid word." She turned to one of the military figures behind her. "Admiral Smith, would you please send them the file?" "Are you sure, Representative?" the man addressed as Admiral Smith asked. "Oh, yes," Samantha said, her eyes never leaving the screen. "They've been so honest with us. It's only fair if we return the favor." A notification appeared on the Zigarian system, a file transfer request. Large, very large.
What is this?
Sazara asked, her claws hovering over the accept command. "The truth," Samantha said simply. "Accept it or don't.
But if you really want to know why we're not interested in your protection racket, that file will explain everything.
Mizir nodded to Cesara, who accepted the transfer. The file began unpacking itself. Video files, sensor data, tactical reports, astronomical surveys. The amount of data was staggering.
While that downloads, Samantha said, let me tell you a story. 3 years ago, humanity detected an incoming fleet at the edge of our solar system. Biomechanical ships, just like the ones in your footage. The Zorg had found us.
It can't be,
Lemire whispered, but there was less certainty in his voice now.
We tried to communicate, Samantha continued. We sent messages of peace, of welcome. The Zorg responded by destroying our outer monitoring stations. They made their intentions clear. Earth was to be harvested.
The first video file finished unpacking. Cesara opened it with trembling claws. The quality was different from their archival footage. Sharper, more immediate, clearly recorded by military-grade sensors. It showed the outer reaches of a solar system, Earth's solar system, according to the data tags. And there, emerging from FTL, was a Zorg fleet. Not a small raiding party, but a full invasion fleet. Hundreds of bioships, their organic hulls pulsing with that familiar, sickening life.
No,
Mizir breathed.
they haven't left the outer galaxy in
3,000 years? Samantha supplied. Yes, we also extracted that piece of information from their brains. Turns out, Earth is technically in what they consider the outer galaxy. We're right on the edge of their expansion zone. Lucky us.
The video continued. The Zorg fleet moved in-system with predatory grace, ignoring all attempts at communication. They passed Jupiter, Saturn, approaching the inner planets where Earth waited, blue and vulnerable.
This is where it gets interesting, Samantha said.
In the video, something launched from Earth. Then more somethings. Thousands of them, streaking out from the planet and its moon, from hidden installations on Mars, from camouflaged platforms in the asteroid belt.
What are those?
Cesara asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Relativistic kill vehicles, Admiral Smith answered. Fancy name for chunks of metal accelerated to 60% the speed of light. Turns out you don't need exotic technology to defend your planet. You just need to throw rocks really, really fast. The collision, when it came, was apocalyptic. The Zorg bioships, for all their advanced technology, were still subject to the laws of physics. When objects massing several tons hit them at such speed, the results were spectacular. Ships didn't just break. They ceased to exist, converted instantly to plasma and expanding clouds of superheated gas.
But that's just conventional weapons,
Lemire protested weakly.
The Zorg can learn. They always adapt.
Oh, they tried, Samantha said. Watch.
The surviving Zorg ships, perhaps a third of the original fleet, began to change, their organic hulls shifting, hardening, trying to resist the kinetic assault. They scattered, moving evasively, some diving toward Earth, while others retreated to regroup. Then the second wave launched from Earth, but these weren't kinetic weapons.
are those.
Mizir couldn't finish the sentence. Antimatter warheads, Smith confirmed. Delivered by FTL-capable missiles. Turns out, when you're paranoid enough to develop guns prior to communication, you develop some pretty nasty toys. The detonations were visible from Earth's surface, brief new stars that flared and died in the night sky. Each explosion consumed multiple Zorg ships, leaving nothing behind but rapidly expanding spheres of gamma radiation.
The ones that tried to retreat were the luckiest, Samantha said, her voice hardening. They just died. The ones that made it to Earth's atmosphere, well, we extracted information from them through various creative ways.
This can't be real,
Cesara said, but her protest sounded hollow. The data was too comprehensive, too detailed to be fabricated. Telemetry, gravitational readings, torture, all of it consistent, all of it verifiable.
Oh, it gets better,
Samantha said, and there was something dark in her smile now.
The Zorg Empire sent a fleet to conquer Earth. When that fleet didn't return, they sent another, bigger, then another, then their entire forward armada.
More files opened, battle after battle, each more desperate than the last. By the time they realized Earth wasn't worth the cost, Admiral Smith said, they'd lost 70% of their military capacity. The client species they'd conquered saw weakness and revolted. The Empire collapsed in 6 months. The last Zorg died defending their homeworld from a coalition of their own slaves that rebelled when they were at their weakest. The three Zagarians stared at the screens, at the undeniable proof of something that shouldn't have been possible. A single planet, a primitive world that had presumably only just achieved FTL communication, had destroyed the Zorg Empire. The boogeyman they had used to frighten hundreds of species was gone, killed by the very species they had tried to scam.
You're monsters,
Lemire whispered. Samantha's expression hardened.
No, we're survivors.
She leaned forward, and for the first time, Mizir truly understood what he was looking at. Not prey, not a mark. A predator species that had hidden its claws until they were needed.
Now, Samantha said, let's discuss your scam. You admitted it yourselves. How are we going to solve this?
Our scam?
Cesara's voice was nothing but a whisper.
You've been very honest about your scam, Samantha said. So we'll be honest too. We want compensation.
The three Zagarians went cold. You attempted to steal from Earth, Admiral Smith said flatly. Now you'll make amends. You'll provide us with genetic samples from your homeworld's fauna, complete cultural archives, your linguistic evolution database, everything you would have taken from us.
That's outrageous,
Lemire sputtered.
Our heritage is
valuable, unique, worth preserving?
Samantha smiled.
Yes, we thought so too. You have 48 hours.
This is extortion,
Cesara hissed.
No, Samantha corrected. This is justice. Oh, and we'll also need copies of all the cultural artifacts you've stolen over the millennia. Consider it newcomer curiosity.
Mizir's mind raced for leverage, finding none.
And if we refuse?
The Zorg were stubborn too, Smith said simply. Would you like to see what's left of their homeworld? The silence was deafening.
We'll need time to gather,
Mizir began.
48 hours, Samantha repeated. Starting now. And we'll need genetic samples from all three of you immediately, as collateral.
You can't.
We can. We are. Unless you'd prefer we forward our files to the Galactic Council. By the way, we know how to contact them.
The trap was complete. They'd walked in willingly, revealed everything, and now...
Send the transfer protocols,
Mizir said in defeat.
Excellent!
Samantha's warmth returned instantly.
See? This is what real cultural exchange looks like. No lies, no threats. Well, minimal threats.
She leaned forward.
Don't disappoint us, elders. We're the species that ended the Zorg Empire, but we'd rather be friends. Your choice.
The screen went dark. The three Zagarians sat in stunned silence.
They scammed us,
Lemire whispered.
We revealed everything, and they were in control the entire time,
Cesara finished. Mizir stood on shaking legs.
Begin collection. Everything they asked for.
He paused at the door.
The game is over. We've been outplayed this time.
As they dispersed to gather their own precious heritage, exactly what they'd stolen from others for millennia, one thought echoed through their minds. The galaxy's greatest con artists had just been thoroughly, completely, perfectly scammed by the primitive species they'd tried to mark. The hunters had become the prey.